I'll talk to you from down here, if that's okay. So we're just going to give you a little bit of background about the castle. So it's a very simple story, the castle. One family lived here for 800 years. That's the whole story, really, all in a nutshell, okay? Who were they? They were the Talbots, and they were originally from France. So they were from Normandy, the north of France, and the Normans invaded England in the 1100s, and then the English and the Normans invaded Ireland shortly after. So we're talking about 1172, okay? And they arrived here, and we were very easy to conquer. We were always fighting among ourselves. Something hasn't changed. History stays the same, and we were easy to conquer. At the time, actually, here in this area, Malahide, there was a Viking family living here, the MacTurkles, and because we're very near the sea here, and the Vikings could bring in the boats here, so they were running the show. And then all of a sudden we have the Talbots. Now they're running the show. They're the bigger dog in the yard, if you know what I mean. Simple maths, I suppose. And so they got to own all the land around here. And then initially they would have protected themselves in a basic ring fort. Like they're here speaking French, we're speaking Irish at the time. So they're in enemy country, really, you know. And they've just taken over the place. So they wouldn't need to protect themselves. So after the ring fort, then they started to build a castle here. And this room we're in here, this is the original part of the tower. A 3-story tower down here, and up there. So just beyond the archway there, that was added on in 1800. It's just this 3-story tower here, this little footprint here. You know, and then they had 800 years to do all the additions, all the renovations every time. Okay? So at the start, then it wasn't that pleasant here, and they would have to bring in their animals at night time underneath here, and you know, farm animals. So it's cold here in the winter, and they got the underfloor heating from the animals. It's all the go now in Ireland, underfloor heating. They had it medieval style, but it also came with those beautiful aromas from the animals as well. You know, they also drifted up, okay? And here they would have had to have a fire to stay warm. They didn't have glass or anything like that, so holes in the walls basically at the start, and no chimneys, you know, so it wasn't too pleasant. And they would probably slept on rushes and straw, that type of thing, you know, fairly basic. But you'll be happy to think things worked out well for them in the long run, okay? It's a happy ending to the story, okay? So this room here, a few things to look at. So this is a lovely carving here. It's over 600 years old. It's Flemish. And it's Our Lady ascending into heaven. So they were Catholics. So they had great devotion to Our Lady. You pray to Our Lady. Our Lady has a word with God. You get what you're looking for. That's the deal. Hopefully, works out for you. These are carvings as well. Are from the Bible here up the top of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, the book of Genesis. The same down here, and this is Saint Joseph in the middle. So at times it was difficult to be a Catholic. You had to be a secret Catholic. So there were secret Catholics at sometimes. So at one time it was forbidden to celebrate Mass. So they would have to do that in secret. So they could be here with the priest saying Mass, and if the authorities came, there was a need to hide the priest. So this opened up here, and they could hide the priest behind, and it was poetically known as a priest's hole. I go to hell for saying that all the time, I know, but that's what it was called. And there was a tunnel there for the priest to escape. Okay, and at that time, regular Irish people would have been having Mass up in the mountains on Mass rocks. They're still there. You know, people would have been having Mass in secret. You know, so that was that time. And there was one time they had to leave the castle. Only one 10-year period. So we had a visit from a gentleman called Oliver Cromwell. He took power in England from Charles I, and he arrived over here with his army, and they invaded again. And he was pretty strong on the religion, not the Catholic religion, but he was pretty strong. He was a Puritan, I think they called him. So he arrived here with his army, and he wanted all the Catholics to move to the west of Ireland. So Connacht is the western province over the River Shannon there that runs down the middle. Galway, Mayo, Sligo, Leitrim, Roscommon. And the land is not as good over there. So he wanted this land for Protestant people. And so all the Catholics had to go live over there. And he was a good communicator, whatever else about him. He could communicate. So he had a simple message. To hell, that's down there, or to Connacht, that's over there. You know, and that's easy understandable, you know, in any language. And they got that, and they had to go bring the Blessed Virgin with them. And 10 years later, things didn't go as well for Cromwell. He lost power in England. And during that 10-year period, his main guy lived here in the castle, Miles Corbett, one of his main guys running the country for him. And so Miles was here running the show. This was a very fortified castle, much more than you see now. Actually, when the Talbots came back, the lady of the house took down all the fortifications, so it wouldn't be a defence structure, more of a home. Okay. So anyway, our friend Miles here, he had to go as well when Cromwell fell out of favour over there, and he headed off, Miles Corbett, on his white horse. He was captured later. If you're involved in killing the king, like Charles I, they make it difficult for you, so he was hung, drawn and quartered. Not a pleasant way to go. Rule number 1, don't kill a king, you know what I mean, or be involved, or sign the paper, don't put your name down to it, you know. So that was the end of Miles. You can actually see him on his white horse. April 19th was the day he died, and his ghost heads off down the avenue there every year. But that's April 19th, you missed that this year, you know, just bad timing, okay? So that was it, they were back in situ then, okay? So just go through a few other things in the room here. This lovely fireplace has an Egyptian motif on it. You'll be able to come around and see, and we'll go in this room next, so you can come around and see all these things. So, excuse me. So what's an Egyptian fireplace doing in an Irish medieval castle? So the Talbots were always fighting. They were always in the fighting business, and they always fought with the British. And they fought with the British against the French in the Battle of the Nile. Nelson against Napoleon Bonaparte, and some of them were killed. And this is to commemorate them. We used to have a big pillar in the middle, right in the centre of Dublin, right in the middle, Nelson's pillar. We had a big pillar and Nelson up on top of it. It was blown up in 1966 by the IRA. Just by the way, you know. So that's that. Other lovely things in the room here. See these chests here behind you there, and there's 2 more back there. These are made by a family of a lady who was getting married, and to bring all her lovely things into her new home with her husband. And that was particularly nice, I think, because it's got the names. Marie is getting married to Thomas. It's dated 1666. There's another one there on the right there. It looks like it's got the Star of David on it, but we think it's more Freemasonry. Judaism wasn't a big thing ever really in Ireland. We never had that many people, Jewish people. Still don't, actually. And then I sometimes forget to mention this humble little item here. This is the oldest item in the castle. And it's dated 1320. This one here, a little simple chair. Okay. So, of course, all this oak panel, I should have mentioned that. That was added in over the years, and then somebody obviously decided to paint it black. In my house, that would be the woman. I'd say it was the woman here too. You know, making that decision. It would have been nice to see what the lovely original Irish oak would look like. You know what I mean? I think. Okay, so we'll head into the 1700s. We're going to skip about 600 years here.